Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 289 based on novel. So let's start. That brother of mine isn't good looking, so you likely don't know him. As Situ Nan laughed, his hand reached toward the charming woman's waist and he forcibly pinched her. The woman was not going to stand for this and was about to resist when Situ Nan forcibly pulled her into his chest. He laughed as he flew directly toward planet Chen Yun. Little girl, don't be in a rush. How many times have I already fed you? You said that you had many sisters in the Pink Palace. Let us go see if that place is as gorgeous as you claim. The woman smiled as she looked at Situ Nan with charming eyes and said, Senior will definitely be satisfied. Just don't forget us sisters at the Pink Palace. After Situ Nan heard those words, his heart itched and he couldn't help but think about the few stunning beauties on planet Feng Luan. If one day he could rule planet Feng Luan, he and his brother, Wang Lin, could be hugging a beauty in each arm. That would be the greatest joy in life. It's unfortunate that little Lin is a piece of wood. A waste of my hundreds of years of teaching. Situ Nan was happily playing around for the time being. At this moment in the far-away planet Water Spirit, Wang Lin's right eye emitted a blue glow. He waved his sleeves and then he went back into closed-door cultivation. The people nearby all scattered and calmness was returned to planet Water Spirit. Many people were bound to have a sleepless night, and many wouldn't even be able to cultivate. The three Chen brother were like this, Master Hollow Wind was like this, and the girl named Linga was also like this. She couldn't forget the thought of the figure that was piercing the heavens even when squatting down. She couldn't cultivate and merely rolled around in bed, unable to calm down. Why is it that when I saw that giant figure, I felt like I was dreaming of the reincarnation cycle? It was as if at that moment, I felt a sense of respect I never felt before. Linga didn't understand any of this. It wasn't until the day brightened that she managed to fall asleep. She didn't sleep for long, but she felt as if she had experienced an entire life in her dream. In her dream, she seemed to change into a different person and wore strange clothes. She was in a familiar yet unfamiliar world. The sky was completely blue and was pretty enough to dazzle people. She was standing on a towering altar that pierced into the sky. Below her stood many men and women dressed in strange clothes. They were chanting strange spells that echoed across the world. She stretched her arm and was filled with reverence as she looked up at the sky. It was as if she was calling and communicating with the sky. After a long time, clouds and wind came and the sky changed. Clouds now covered up the sky, and the people below began to chant even louder. Their faces all revealed excitement and extreme reverence. She was kneeling on the altar with one knee and her hands were in a bottle shape before her chest. Her head looked up, revealing her slender, white neck, and after doing this strange gesture, it seemed a voice came out of her mouth. Just at this instant, the clouds in the sky violently churned and two rays of powerful light gradually pierced through the clouds and landed directly on the ground. The clouds were shrouded by a strange force that gradually spread in all directions. However, at this moment, a huge figure appeared behind the clouds. It was an ancient god. Only the upper half of its body was revealed, but it seemed to occupy heaven and earth. There were 8 stars rapidly rotating between the ancient god's eyebrows. The moment this ancient god appeared, all the people under the altar began to cheer and reveal feverish expressions. The dream suddenly ended here. Linga opened her eyes and stared at the ceiling. This wasn't the first time she had such a dream, but it would often occur once she had consciousness. This was a secret in her heart. She didn't know why she subconsciously didn't want to tell anyone about this. Even to this day, her best friend, Sister Zhao Shui, didn't know about this. Not even her grandfather, Master Yi Chen, knew about this. Originally, Linga always thought it was merely her own fantasy. Although she had seen it many times, it was always through a filter and she couldn't see it clearly. The first time she saw it clearly was the night after she saw the senior named Wang. Although the shocking event was happening outside, she never awakened from her dream. In the dream that night, she finally saw everything. Even she found it a bit strange. Why was it that she felt a sense of familiarity the moment she saw Senior Wang Lin? She felt it was very strange. Even so, she didn't care about it too much at the time. After all, in her heart, she still thought it was all just a dream. However, all of this shattered after tonight. She saw the majestic figure in the sky. Although the figure was not the same one as in her dream, the stars between its eyebrows and the feeling that pierced her heart were exactly the same. She had never thought that the giant in her dream actually existed. This caused her heart to be in a complete mess. Early in the morning, a gentle knock came from her door. After finding there was no response for a long time, Zhao Shui, who was outside, was surprised. She didn't spread out her divine sense but pushed the door open only to find there was no one inside. The sky just brightened. Where did that girl go? Zhao Shui frowned, then she turned around and her graceful figure left. Wang Lin sat inside the palace during the night. The blue flash in his eyes gradually calmed down until outsiders couldn't see anything abnormal. It requires too much origin energy to activate the ancient god's life-saving spell. It isn't enough to just rely on the origin energy absorbed through battle. As Wang Lin pondered, he made a plan. After cultivating for a bit, he slapped his bag of holding and a ray of light shot out before landing in his hand. The light gradually dissipated, revealing a gorgeous crown. This crown contained a trace of red shadow that revealed extreme pride. Around the red shadow was a golden line circling around it. If one looked closely, they would see that the golden line was the soul of a golden dragon that had shrunken a lot. The golden line circled the red shadow as if it was terrified of it and completely moved with the red shadow. As Wang Lin stared at the crown, that red shadow from the past gradually appeared in his pupils. Red Butterfly. When Red Butterfly died, she made Wang Lin take a trip to her hometown. There, Wang Lin found a blue rose, and the arrogance it gave off was the same as Red Butterfly's. Then, after Wang Lin obtained the crown, the two fused into one. At first Wang Lin didn't know what the crown did and only felt as if something was different inside. Only, he didn't know what the difference was. Until the golden dragon in the void used his most powerful spell and it took the shape of a crown. It was only then that Wang Lin understood and took out the real crown. The scene afterward was something Wang Lin still couldn't forget. The red figure that appeared was so similar to Red Butterfly. Even that aloof aura was exactly the same. Wang Lin softly said, "Red Butterfly, is that you?" Red Butterfly was the first person Wang Lin admired in his life. It was difficult to forget the arrogance of the genius of the country of Shuiyu, someone who even the country of Suzaku broke their own rule for. They accepted her as a disciple and raised the rank of the country of Shuiyu. They even allowed Shuiyu to start a war between two countries that even dragged in mortals like Da Niu. After Wang Lin spoke, the red shadow inside the crown trembled. However, it didn't respond, it slowly disappeared as if it was avoiding him. Wang Lin let out a sigh and carefully looked at the crown before putting it away. His eyes lit up and he revealed a serious expression. If I can refine and control the next item, I will have more confidence in the trip to the demon spirit land. Wang Lin took a deep breath and slapped his bag of holding. A female corpse emitting a silver glow appeared before Wang Lin. During the big battle between All Heaven and the Alliance took out Refined Corpse, and this woman was among the three most powerful. After she was injured, Wang Lin managed to steal her. The woman wore a silver dress that showed off her beautiful curves. If she was alive, she would be an enchanting woman. However, right now her face was ashen and a terrifying burst of yin energy came from her body and filled the room. There were still two chains on her body. One of them was attached to her humerus and the other to her pelvis. These chains were blackish purple and gave off a powerful stench. If a mortal smelled it, they would immediately die. Even a cultivator whose cultivation level wasn't high enough would immediately be poisoned. If they only took a breath of it, they would just be seriously injured, but if they took too many breaths, they would die. If I can control this refined corpse, I'll gain another early-stage Nirvana cleanser power. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He took the risk to take the corpse back then, and now it was time to harvest the benefits. Just as he was observing it, his expression changed. Then he waved his right hand and the corpse was placed back in the bag. The yin energy and poison inside the room quickly dissipated. Shortly after, a hesitant and feminine voice came from outside the palace. "Wang, Senior Wang, it's Ling Er." It was currently dawn, but the night wind still blew. On planet Water Spirit, the wind was very cold, and although she shouldn't feel it much thanks to her cultivation, she still felt very cold. She shyly looked at the big fellow sitting on the ground before her. She remembered that this big fellow followed behind Wang Lin a few days ago. Now this big fellow was staring at her with those cold eyes, and she was scared. She bit her lower lip and softly said, I want to see Senior Wang." Can you let me in?" Tarshan didn't speak and coldly looked at the girl before him. If this girl took one more step forward, he would attack. The palace doors opened from the inside. Wang Lin smiled as he looked at the timid Ling Er and laughed. "What's the matter for you to come here so early?" After she saw Wang Lin come out, she let out a sigh of relief, then she patted her chest and quickly said, "Senior, the sunrise on planet Water Spirit is very beautiful. Ling Er wants to ask if Senior would like to see it." As she spoke, her little face became red. Although Wang Lin was a senior, from her view, he didn't look much older than her. Such an obvious invitation caused her heart to beat even faster. After Wang Lin heard these words, the smile disappeared and he frowned. Ling Er was observing Wang Lin's expression, and when she saw Wang Lin frown, her heart fell into a pit. She just stood there, biting her lips and not knowing what to say. "Lady Ling Er, I still have to cultivate. If you are afraid, I'll have Tarshan go with you." Wang Lin's eyes fell on Tarshan and he calmly ordered, "Tarshan, escort Lady Ling Er and keep her safe." After he finished speaking, he no longer looked at Ling Er and walked back toward the palace. He wryly smiled in his heart. How could he not understand Ling Er's meaning? Although it might be an exaggeration to call him an old monster, since he had only cultivated for a bit more than 1,000 years, calling him that was still fitting given his cultivation level. Moreover, his actual age was more than 1,000 years old, which was far older than Ling Er. The only reason he was nice to her aside from her having a water spirit root was a senior being kind to a junior. There was no other meaning. Ling Er didn't have any other meaning. "I just want to see sunrise with Senior." Can't Senior even agree to such a small request? Ling Er's eyes were crystal clear. She didn't know why herself, but the moment she woke up, she wanted to find Wang Lin. She wanted to find the answer to her dream. She had a feeling she would get her answer from Wang Lin. Wang Lin had his back toward Ling Er and he didn't stop walking. He waved his sleeves and the door to the palace slowly closed. "Senior, Ling Er wants to know about that giant that appeared last night." "He? What is he?" Ling Er was about to step forth. Tarshan's eyes lit up and he took a step forward. A ripple spread out and landed on Ling Er, pushing her back few dozen feet. Ling Er's cultivation level was not high, so as she retreated, her face turned pale. The spiritual energy in her body became unstable, and combined with her extreme anxiety and restless night, the spiritual energy inside her body went into complete chaos. Blood rushed up her throat and she coughed out a mouthful of blood. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He frowned as his body disappeared from inside the palace and he appeared next to her. He gently patted her back and sent origin energy into her body. Just a single cycle caused her spiritual energy to stabilize and her light injury was gone. "You girl. Let's go. This old man will accompany you to see the sunrise." Wang Lin was helpless. Although he had some goodwill toward her, it wasn't enough to affect his decision. The reason he went was because he saw that she really had some questions to ask him. "Senior, you agree to Ling Er's request?" Although Ling Er's face was still pale, joy filled her big eyes. Her eyes shined and were extremely adorable. "Only this once." Wang Lin let out a sigh. He had only watched the sunrise and sunset with Li Muwen during her last years. It had become an eternal memory for Wang Lin. Since then, he hadn't watched it with anyone else. If there was anyone else, it was back in the soul refining sect, where he and Liu Mai were separated by a wall yet they both watched the sunset. Ling Er revealed a bright smile as she nodded and rang the bells on her wrist. A white dot came from the distance. It was a white crane that flew over and hovered over Linga. Linga jumped onto the crane's back. As for Wang Lin, how could he sit with a little girl on the back of a crane? He simply took a step and walked into the air. While Linga was smiling, she patted the crane's head and said, "Senior, follow Linga." With that, the crane flew into the sky in a beautiful arc. Wang Lin followed with a bitter smile and disappeared over the horizon. Along the way, Linga was very happy and constantly laughed as the crane flew. The bells on her wrist continued to ring and fused with her laughter to form an almost a heavenly sound. It was very comfortable for Wang Lin to listen to. Looking at Linga on the back of the crane, Wang Lin let out a sigh. He could see that she was truly happy. Aside from his childhood, he rarely had moments where he was as happy as this girl. It didn't take long for the crane to arrive at the very tall peak that pierced into the heavens. There were clouds surrounding the peak. A sliver of red from the rising sun touched the peak, making it a spectacularly beautiful scene. The peak was hidden among the clouds and was filled with lush greenery. At a glance, it looked very natural. There was a fluctuating darkness just behind the peak. That was the endless ocean of this planet. The crane let out a cry as it went through the clouds and headed toward the peak. It didn't take long for it to arrive at the peak and land. Linga jumped off and floated down like a butterfly. As the bells on her wrist rang, she landed on top of a blue rock. "Senior, come quickly." As the mountain wind blew, it blew her hair and made it cover a small part of her face. As a result, this caused her to display her amazing beauty. That flowing black hair and her perfect face all landed in Wang Lin's eyes. The inner allure Linga had as a girl with a water spirit root had inadvertently revealed itself when the mountain winds blew by. This by itself didn't mean much. However, the sun was rising from the east and the darkness was slowly fading. The vast orange light appeared in the world like countless swords piercing through the darkness. The darkness gradually dissipated. The sun rose behind Linga's exquisite face. The gentle light set the mood and the rising sun became the background. The scene of Linga's smile while her hair covered part of her cheek will forever remain in Wang Lin's mind. Admiration filled Wang Lin's eyes as he took a step and landed on a rock. He silently looked at the sunrise, though his heart was in an extremely strange state. "Peace." Linga didn't speak but moved her hair behind her ear. She looked at Wang Lin, who was looking at the sunrise, and revealed a smile. It wasn't until the sun had fully risen that Linga let out a sigh and softly said, "Before Big Sister Shui came to this planet, I would often come here by myself to watch the sunrise and sunset." As he looked at the sunrise, Wang Lin slowly said, "It's very beautiful." At that moment, he became accidentally immersed in a very strange state. Although it was short, it was unforgettable. In that strange state, he vaguely saw something, but after carefully thinking about it, it was as if he saw nothing. This was a very strange feeling, and it was the first time Wang Lin had encountered it. The sound of the sea came from the distance and completely fused with the tranquility in the area. There was no discomfort to the ears at all when listening to this sound. After a long time, Linga softly said, "Senior, Linga wants to know what that giant that appeared last night was." Wang Lin looked into the distance. The sun had already risen, and after pondering a bit, he slowly said, "It is only the treasure spirit of one of my treasures." Linga bit her lower lip as she looked at Wang Lin. She shook her head. "Senior doesn't need to try to fool Linga. I know that it wasn't a treasure spirit but an extinct existence from a long time ago. They used to be the strongest existence among the stars." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed slightly and he calmly said, "Why do you say so?" Linga lowered her head and pondered for a long time. After a long time, she clenched her teeth as if she had made up her mind. There was a strange feeling mixed within as she looked at Wang Lin and softly said, "Junior has always had a dream in her mind since childhood, and I would often lose myself within it. In the dream, I've seen the giant that appeared last night. Although it was not the same one, they both had stars between their eyebrows." Linga had never told anyone else about this. She subconsciously didn't want to tell anyone. However, when facing Wang Lin, she had a strange feeling and told him her greatest secret. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but he was shocked in his heart. He gradually frowned as he stared at Ling. He didn't completely believe what she said. He had obtained the inheritance of knowledge from Tu Sai, and there was nothing in Tu Sai's memories about interactions with mortals. There was nothing that could explain what she said. Dreaming of an ancient god is too absurd. Wang Lin no longer looked at Ling and continued to look into the distance. After a long time, he flatly said, "The sunrise has passed and I have answered your question. You can leave. I'm going to stay here to comprehend a bit, and I don't want to be disturbed." Ling's expression instantly became pale and she took a few steps back and stared at Wang Lin. She knew that he didn't believe her words. After pondering a bit, Ling revealed a decisive gaze. She was not as weak as she looked on the outside. Once she made a decision, she wouldn't easily back down. Without hesitation, Ling knelt down on the ground on one knee and her hands formed the shape of a treasure bottle. She raised her head, revealing her slender neck, and made the gesture she had made thousands of times in her dreams. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly narrowed, and it was like a bolt of thunder had exploded in his mind. 5 stars quickly appeared between Wang Lin's eyebrows. This was one of the rare few times the ancient god stars had appeared without his control, and they began to rotate rapidly. Wang Lin's expression changed slightly. It was as if some strange force had awakened inside him. Under the impact of this force, the memories of Tu Sai flashed through his mind. Ling's eyes didn't blink as she looked at Wang Lin. The moment the ancient god stars appeared between Wang Lin's eyebrows, confusion filled her eyes. It was like a cloud had quickly passed, and her eyes shined. Her body trembled as if a hidden memory in her body had been released. She was in a trance. The event that only occurred in the dream had appeared before her. She was kneeling on one knee on the altar and countless people were chanting around the altar. Kneeling on the altar, she held the treasured bottle gesture as she looked up at the sky and released a soft but strange sound. Say? The clouds churned and roared like an angry wave. The clouds split apart to reveal the blue sky and a huge figure. There were only 5 stars between the eyebrows of this figure, but he gave off a powerful pressure and an aura unique to the royal bloodline. He had an extremely indifferent expression, as if he cared about nothing in the world. His cold gaze fell in Ling's eyes. This ancient god was Wang Lin. In the dream, Ling's face was filled with reverence. The moment Wang Lin appeared, she softly said, "The ancient Moon Clan's servant Mu Ling prays to the ancient god to descend and grant us the power to battle the Tower Clan." At the same time, the countless men and women all revealed the same reverence. They all began to chant, creating a storm that swept the area. A bright moon mark appeared between their eyebrows and became brighter and brighter. The ancient Moon Clan has prepared enough origin energy for the ancient god. Please accept it. In the illusion, the treasured bottle in Ling's hand floated up. At this moment, all the people around the altar began to chant, and the moon marks between their eyebrows shined. Then an unimaginable amount of origin energy condensed between their eyebrows and shot toward the altar. Strands of origin energy moved like dragons toward the altar and gathered toward the bottle formed by Ling's hand. As more and more origin energy gathered between Ling's hands, the treasured bottle became corporeal. As she raised her hands, the bottle flew into the air and turned into a fist-sized cyclone that flew toward the ancient god that looked like Wang Lin. This cyclone wasn't fast at first, but as it flew, it sped up, and a powerful suction force came from within. It landed between Wang Lin's eyebrows and disappeared. The ancient god that looked like Wang Lin raised his right finger and pointed down. A powerful surge of ancient god power rushed into Ling on the altar. Then this power transformed inside her body and split off into thousands of parts into the bodies of everyone around the altar. At this moment, Ling felt dizzy, then she fell down and passed out. The illusion disappeared. The sky was still the sky of planet Water Spirit and the peak was still shrouded within the clouds. The sound of the waves could sometimes be heard. Nothing had changed. The only thing that had changed was that Ling had passed out like she did in the illusion. Wang Lin stood not far away and confusion filled his eyes. God's slave, Wang Lin looked at the sky in the distance and silently pondered. In truth, when Wang Lin saw Ling make that treasured bottle hand sign, it was as if something had awakened from the inheritance Wang Lin obtained from Tu Sai. It was like a memory that wasn't supposed to exist had opened up before Wang Lin. During ancient times, aside from destroying a planet to obtain origin energy, the ancient gods came up with another method. They obtained it from the people, and thus the existence of god slaves came to be. There is a reincarnation cycle in this world. Every god slave was personally branded by an ancient god. Based on the power of the ancient gods, the amount of power each god slave received would be different. However, the brand on Linga was simply too strong. Even after countless years of reincarnation, the brand still exists in her soul. If not for the brand, she wouldn't have remembered the past from countless years ago. Wang Lin touched the spot between his eyebrows. Linga wasn't the only one who saw that illusion, Wang Lin did as well. This was especially true when the vortex of origin energy offered by all those people entered the ancient god. Wang Lin felt heat from between his eyebrows, as if a power had gone inside. However, this power was very weak. It was only one strand, but it was extremely tough. After entering his body, it became part of his ancient god power. An extra mark appeared between Linga's eyebrows. This mark flickered and seemed to be vaguely connected to Wang Lin's heartbeat. It could even be said that every time Wang Lin's heart beat once, the mark would flicker. If one day Wang Lin's heart stopped beating, the mark would collapse and take her life with it. If the soul collapses, then everything will be destroyed and there will be no chance for reincarnation. If an ancient god dies, the god slaves will follow. There is only one explanation for Linga being able to continue existing in the reincarnation cycle. While Wang Lin pondered, his eyes shined. The ancient god that made the brand didn't die. I just accidentally stepped in and replaced the original owner of this god slave. My mark now has replaced the previous mark, and there is also only one explanation for this. Although the previous ancient god is not dead, he has lost all his power and is weaker than me. Wang Lin let out a sigh. At this moment, he understood why he felt some goodwill toward Linga. At first he thought it was because she had the water spirit root, which made him reminisce about the past and felt regrettable about what happened. However, Wang Lin understood that this wasn't the case. It was because she had a trace of the god slave brand from countless reincarnations ago. I thought I had understood everything about ancient god Tu Sai, but it seems some memories are still sealed. This is probably because I was still missing a memory crystal when I obtained the inheritance of knowledge. If I can obtain that last crystal, the inheritance of knowledge will be truly complete. Time quickly passed, and unknowingly, the sun set. As the light disappeared and the earth was shrouded in darkness once more, Wang Lin slowly became immersed in that strange state once more. In this state, he was completely at peace and had thrown away all his worries. The only things in his mind were the sunrise and sunset. There was always something echoing before him, but Wang Lin couldn't touch it. He didn't even know what state he was in or what he was searching for. However, after more than 1,000 years of cultivation, his spiritual sense was very strong. He had a vague feeling this current state was a very rare opportunity. If he could grasp it and comprehend it, it would benefit him greatly. Wang Lin didn't know that he was currently at the border of one of the three great realms from ancient times, the Sha realm. The Sha realm wasn't as powerful as the Ji realm or as mysterious as the Dao realm, but since the beginning, it was ranked number 1 in the cultivation world. No one knew where the Sha realm came from or how to enter it. Throughout the history of cultivation, even in ancient times, the amount of people that entered the Sha realm was very low. Although not as low as the Ji realm, still not many. However, what was strange was that even those who entered the Sha realm didn't know how they entered it. Also, they only remained in the Sha realm for a very short period of time before it disappeared. Rumors around the world say that the Ji, Dao, and Sha realms are a change in spiritual energy. Once you enter the realm, you will forever stay there. Many support this theory, but aside from a few records of the Ji realm, many didn't know if this was true. Almost all of them were confused as well. They only knew that the three great realms were split into spiritual energy and divine sense. For example, the Ji realm originally manifested in Wang Lin as his spiritual power before it converted to this divine sense. At the same time, the cultivators that studied the three realms for countless years believed that the Tao and Sha realms were split between spiritual energy and divine sense. G spiritual energy, G divine sense. Tao spiritual energy, Tao divine sense. Sha spiritual energy, Sha divine sense. In comparison, the spiritual energy realm was much easier to obtain, and the divine sense realm was simply too ethereal. In ancient times, those that were able to enter the Sha realm mostly did it through spiritual energy. At that moment, the spiritual energy inside their body would undergo a huge change. However, the amount of time the Sha realm lasted was simply too short, so the benefits weren't too great. All of this changed when the record of the Sha realm was left behind by a cultivator named Liu Wen. This video will end here.